As you know, today we have Adam Witty with us. Adam leads Forbes Books, which is one of the most respected independent business book publishers in America, serving over 2,000 CEO and entrepreneur authors in 44 states and 27 countries. The global book publishing brand of Forbes Media, the publisher of Forbes magazine, Adam and his business partner, Steve Forbes, launched Forbes Books in 2016. Adam is the author of 9 books and has been featured in the Wall Street Journal, Investors Business Daily, USA Today, and Fox News. He was named to the 40 Under 40, 50 Most Progressive, and the 2011 Inc. Magazine 30 Under 30 list of America's coolest entrepreneurs. That's a fun list, coolest entrepreneurs, and was the 2019 Charleston Entrepreneur of the Year. Today, Adam's talking about how, as the leader of your industry, community, and marketplace, you can position yourself and your business as the undisputed expert, influential authority, and in-demand celebrity. This authority position moves you to new heights and makes marketing, selling, and building trust with customers dramatically easier and quicker than ever before. In this session, he's going to explain how you can expand your presence in your niche and community with a number of innovative, industry-tested techniques to become the business leader who everyone wants to work with. We also have a special guest with us today, Kristen McLean from the Vivid Ink Company. Kristen and her team transform the spoken word into lasting, actionable works of art. So in your recap, you'll all have a really beautiful, unique drawing of today's webinar as well. One last reminder that this is an interactive session. So if you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll have a chat button and a Q&A button. We encourage you to use those throughout anytime you have a question for Adam. You'll also receive, as I mentioned, a recap in the next 24 hours. So without further ado, I'm going to let Adam take it away.
Well, thank you for the great introduction, and I'm excited to be with everyone today. We're going to have a lot of fun. I'm going to share with you the principles of what we call authority marketing. We also refer to it as authority media. And I'm going to share with you how using this strategy can position you into a thought leadership position that puts you in a category of one, and that really makes you and the company you run the go-to company, or you the go-to person that people want to do business with, which gives you great pricing, marketing, and selling power in the marketplace. I started Advantage Media in 2005. You'll see that icon at the bottom of the screen. And in 2016, Advantage Media partnered with Forbes Media to create Forbes Books, which is our flagship publishing brand. Now, as you may or may not know, I am an author. I practice what I preach. I tell everyone you can't spell the word authority without author. And there is great truth to that. And so this book, Authority Marketing, I have a special opportunity for everyone on today's webinar to receive a complimentary copy of the book. And I'll provide those instructions at the end of the webinar. So you'll want to make sure you stay until the end to get those instructions. And much of today's presentation is based off of the best-selling book that I published in 2018, Authority Marketing. So let's talk for a minute about what you'll learn and what we're going to cover. First, some of you may not know the term authority marketing. It's not something you're familiar with. So I'm going to provide you with a definition as well as real-life examples so you can see authority in action. The second thing I'm going to do is share with you a very simple concept that we call the Authority Coliseum. I'm going to share with you what elements make up this Authority Coliseum and how you can build these elements into your personal brand, into your company brand, to create more trust, to generate more sales, and ultimately to grow your business. And then finally, we're going to talk about really where to begin. The foundation of authority, it really does begin with writing and publishing a book, becoming an author. And I'm going to share with you how to navigate that journey and how to get started. Throughout the webinar, if you have questions, just add those to the Q&A section of Zoom. And at the end of the presentation, we're going to have an interactive session where I'll go through all of those questions all at one time. So if you'll let me get through the presentation, and then we'll have interaction with the Q&A at the very end. So I'm going to start with a quiz. It's always easier when we're in person, but this is virtual today. So if you know the answer, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you to shout it out at me. But I ask this question to CEOs and entrepreneurs all the time. I say, the business we're really in is what? Now, sometimes I get blank stares. Other times I'll get the name of the industry that business might be in, or what it is they manufacture, or what service they deliver. Sometimes I'll get people that say, the business I'm in is serving customers, or the business I'm in is setting a vision for my company. And I believe, as the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer, at the end of the day, there's really one primary responsibility that you have. And that responsibility is ultimately to open doors. As the CEO, as the founder, as the entrepreneur, your number one job is to open more doors for your business. Now, those open doors could come in customer relationships, in hiring and recruiting new employees to join your company. It could come in opening a door to get your company featured in Forbes magazine or the Wall Street Journal. It could be opening a door to a new supplier, a new vendor, a new joint venture partner. At the end of the day, though, to grow a business, to scale a business, you've got to open more doors, regardless of who those open doors might be with, be it customers, suppliers, vendors, or new hires. That really is the business that we're in. And the more authority you have, the more doors you will open. It is as simple as that. So if your number one job, if the business you're really in is opening doors, you should be asking yourself the question, as the CEO, what can I do to help open more doors? That is what authority is all about. So let's start with a definition. And for those of you that have not heard of authority marketing or authority media, I will provide you with a true definition to start. Authority is really the strategic process of systematically positioning a person or an organization as the leader and expert in their industry, community, or marketplace to command outsized influence over all competitors. Now, if we pause for just a moment, there are a few key words in that definition that are important. The first is strategic. Authority is not created randomly. Authority does not creep upon you in the middle of the night as bed bugs might do. Authority is deliberately and intentionally created. You also see the word systematically. It's strategic and systematic at the same time if you are doing it right. And the whole idea behind this, it's not about ego, it's about impact. The more authority you have, the more impactful you can be as a leader. The less authority you have, the more you become a commodity, where you're a salesman or a saleswoman trying to peddle your wares upon unsuspecting victims. You see, when you're an authority, you have gravitas and you have a commanding presence where you are truly a magnet in the middle of the ocean that is attracting fish from all parts. That's truly what authority is. Now, I'm going to use my professional biography as a brief yet instructive example as to how authority works. So let me read it to you, and then I'm going to quickly come back and highlight for you the important and salient points. Adam is the founder and CEO of Advantage, the authority media company. Advantage Business Journal's books and Forbes books help busy professionals write and publish a book to grow their business and become the authority in their field. Over 2,000 authors hail from 40 US states and 13 countries. Adam was named to the prestigious Inc. 30 Under 30 list of America's coolest entrepreneurs in 2011. Advantage has been named to the Inc. 500 5000 list for the past 7 years. Adam is the author of 5 books and has appeared in the USA Today, Investors Business Daily, The Wall Street Journal, and on ABC and Fox. Adam's book, Book the Business, was co-authored with marketing legend Dan Kennedy, and his newest book, Authority Marketing, features a foreword from Steve Forbes. In 2016, Forbes, the biggest international name in business media, with 94 million monthly readers, asked Advantage to partner and launch a book business, Forbes Books. In 2020, American City Business Journals, the largest local business media company in the United States, partnered with Advantage to launch business journal books in 44 local markets. Adam speaks frequently to entrepreneurs and business owners around the globe. Adam is a commercial pilot with instrument and seaplane ratings, a member of EO-YPO, and past board chair of Clemson's Spiro Entrepreneurship Institute and Nonprofit Youth Entrepreneurship South Carolina. And yes, I'm an Eagle Scout too. So let's talk about this bio for just a minute. Now, most people, their professional biography on their website or on LinkedIn was pieced together in an instant. They threw something together because they had to get it put onto LinkedIn, or their web designer said, Mr. or Mrs. CEO, I need your bio to add to our website. These 2 paragraphs that you're looking at right now have been crafted with intentionality and great care. In fact, these 2 paragraphs took me well into an hour or more just to create, because every sentence intentionally is building my authority in the minds of the people that read it. What builds authority? Well, first, titles build authority. I am the founder and CEO, which in and of itself connotates authority. Now, your title probably gives you just the same. You'll notice 2,000 authors, 40 states, 13 countries. What does that connotate? Breadth, expansion. In fact, a lot of people that read that say, well, they must be pretty good at what they do if 2,000 authors have done this already, and those authors are all around the world. Now, the next thing you'll see is Inc. 30 Under 30 and the Inc. 500 5000 list. These are awards and accolades that have been bestowed upon me by others, and not just others, but prestigious brands that you recognize and respect. Inc. magazine being that prestigious brand. There are many awards, there are many accolades, and probably many awards and accolades that you can apply for that you may not yet have. All of these things build your authority. Then you'll see the author of 5 books. Authorship creates authority, hands down. USA Today, Investors Business Daily, Wall Street Journal. I have been featured in the media. That also gives me authority. And then you'll notice Dan Kennedy, a name that is familiar to many entrepreneurs and business owners. And then, of course, Steve Forbes, a modern day business celebrity. Why do I include those 2 names in my professional bio? Something called authority by association. So when you stand next to people or brands that have a great amount of authority, their authority will rub off on you. So you want to have authority by association. You'll also see that I speak frequently. That is also a driver of authority. Because certainly people think, well, gee, if he's being invited to speak around the world to talk about this topic, he must be an expert. You'll also notice that I have my own media and publish our own magazine, Forbes Books Review and Authority magazine. When you create your own media, whether it's a newsletter, a magazine, or even a podcast, that also creates authority. So you too can intentionally create a bio that is much the same. And so when you leave today's webinar and you go to LinkedIn or you go to your website, my question to you is, has your bio been crafted with exacting care to strategically position your authority in the mind of the person that's reading that bio? A good question for all of us. Now, as I mentioned, I am the author of 5 books. I practice what I preach. And yes, you cannot spell authority without the word author. And as we share in today's program, writing and publishing the definitive book on your expertise can do more to build your authority most quickly than anything else. Now, the business that I run, Forbes Books, we have 2 main objectives. We help CEOs create, publish, and market a book to grow their business, and position, promote, and market you as the authority in your field. 2,000 CEOs and entrepreneurs around the world who trust us to help them strategically and systematically elevate themselves and build their authority. Now, how many of you, by a show of hands, it's a bit harder to do virtually, but you can raise your hand, I won't see it, but how many of you have been to the Colosseum in Rome? I am raising my hand tall. I visited the Colosseum in Rome. It was some time ago. It was 2005. Now, even though that was some 17 years ago, I remember walking through the Colosseum distinctly. Now, do you know how old the Colosseum is? The Colosseum was built in 70 AD. I'm no math major, but I'd say that's about 1950 years ago. Can you imagine that something that was built 2,000 years ago is still standing for people like me, like you, to enjoy in breathtaking awe? To think that this Colosseum has lasted for generations is a magnificent and incredible thought. The reason I share this picture of the Colosseum is because we are talking about building your authority Colosseum. And the big idea I'll share with you is that done right, authorship will last and stay with you for the entirety of your career. And so the investment that you make, whether it be writing and publishing a book, whether it be building authority through content, public relations, speaking, all of those things will pay dividends for years and years, in fact, decades to come. And so hands down, it's one of the smartest things any business owner can do for themselves because of the immense long tail in return that it provides. My business partner is Steve Forbes. He's the editor-in-chief and chairman of Forbes Media. And in the foreword to my book, he made this point. He said, here comes a crucial point. Authority cannot be achieved quietly. If you want to be seen as a thought leader in your field, a person of outstanding authority whose observations are accorded instant respect, whose pieces of advice are almost treated as commands, then you need to make it clearly known. And one of the most powerful ways to achieve this rare stature is through authorship. Now, it's impressive and prescient that Steve Forbes would make such a comment, because he, as the author of 7 books, has used his authority to captivate him to become one of the most well-known business celebrities in America today. And of course, he had 2 presidential runs, both unsuccessful, but both in which he garnered millions of votes and hundreds of millions of dollars in financial support for his campaigns, leveraging his authority to do that. People have to know you're there, and your book is the way to do it. So let's talk first about these pillars that are a part of your authority coliseum and why they're so important. And I'm going to start with branding and omnipresence. Here is the big idea I want you to write down and walk away with. The higher up in income you go, the more you are paid for who you are, not for what you do. The higher up in income you go, the more you are paid for who you are, not what you do. Which is reason enough to invest time, energy, and money into building your authority, which is building your who. Now, if I were to Google your name right now, what would happen? If I were to Google your name right now, would I have to pack a lunch? Now, what do I mean when I say pack a lunch? It simply means that when I Google your name, there is so much to be found about you, so much content, so many websites, so many articles. I'm going to get hungry with the time to go through it all. The problem is that if I were to Google most of your names right now, it's as if you are a ghost and you do not exist. In the 80s and 90s, a sign of our business, our brand, was your physical office. When someone would come to your office, the size, the scope, and magnitude would signal your success. Then in the early 2000s, it was your personal website. So if I visited adamwitty.com, if I visited yourname.com, what would I find? Now in the 2010s and 2020s, it's not just about your website. It's more about, if I were to Google your name, what would I find? Creating omnipresence is being so big, so larger than life, that when I Google your name, I'm going to get hungry. Now, let me give you an example. Dustin Burleson. He's a doctor, he's an orthodontist, and he lives in Kansas City, Missouri. And when I Google Dr. Burleson's name, look at what comes up. I have all of his books that he's authored, and every listing on the top page, the top fold, what they call the top half of the page of Google, is a reference to Dr. Burleson, with the third being his own Wikipedia page. Now, orthodontics is somewhat of a commodity. If you need to get braces for yourself or for your children, and you look up an orthodontist in your local community, there are probably many to choose from. And because of that, most compete on price, on convenience, on location, and do they accept your medical, your care card, your health insurance, etc. But Dr. Burleson said, I am going to create a brand that is larger than life, and I am going to put myself in a category of one. He started about 10 years ago with one small practice. He scaled that up to become the largest orthodontist in Kansas City, Missouri. and he just sold his 4-location practice to a private equity firm last year. That is the leverage and the power that authority gives you. The second pillar is PR and media, public relations. And here's what I want you to remember. People don't care what you say about yourself, but they sure do care what other people say about you, especially the media. One of our authors is Dr. Stephen Hotze, based out of Houston, Texas. And Dr. Hotze runs the Hotze Health and Wellness Center, which focuses on bioidentical hormones for women. His target patient is a woman postmenopausal in her 50s or 60s that wants higher quality of life and greater life balance hormonally. So what did Dr. Hotze do? He wrote a book on the topic, Hypothyroidism, Health, and Happiness. Not only did he write the book, but then he went on a media tour to talk about the book. And so whether it's Great Day Houston, Good Morning Texas, KATV, which is the NBC affiliate in Houston, Dr. Hotze, over the last 4 years, has received over $10 million in free media coverage. Meaning, if he had to run an advertisement for his business during the free media coverage he was getting, it would have cost him over $10 million. Now, why did Dr. Hotze get all of this free media coverage? Because he had something to talk about, not himself and not his business, but his book. The media are not interested in helping you promote your business, but the media sure are interested in talking to authors about new ideas and new concepts that are outlined in their book. So not only has Dr. Hotze sold tens of thousands of copies of his book, but he has turned many of those readers into patients at the Hotze Health and Wellness Center, all with a free lift and boost from the media with publicity that he earned. Now, when it comes to the media, there's a little acronym I like to use. And this is something that you should write down. The media are interested in only 3 things. I call it the ACE formula. Are you the authority? Are you the celebrity? Are you the expert? If the media sees you as the authority, the celebrity, and the expert, they want to talk to you. They want to interview you. They want to use you as a source in their story. They want to have you on their television or radio program. They want to learn more about your new book. If you do not have those attributes, then you're John Doe or Jane Doe in their mind. So building your authority will instantly make you more magnetically attractive to the media. The third pillar of authority is content. And you as the CEO and entrepreneur need to also be the chief content officer of your business. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to sit down and write it all yourself, but it does mean that you have expertise that can be shared, whether it be through books, whether it be through a podcast, a blog, articles, white papers, or much more than that. One of our authors, Charlie Epstein, is America's 401k advisor. Charlie is one of the largest mass mutual agents in America, and his firm, Epstein Financial Services, is based in Holyoke, Massachusetts. Now, if you go to Google and type in financial advisor, Holyoke, Massachusetts. If you go to Google and type in 401k, Holyoke, Massachusetts, you will find multiple people to choose from. Like Dr. Hotze and like Dr. Burleson, Charlie Epstein is in a commodity industry. He is seen as one of many. And so his book is titled Paychecks for Life. His podcast is titled Killing Retirement. And Charlie has invested time to build his authority, make him into a media star, creating his own media and sharing that media with his audience. Not for ego, but for impact. Charlie knows the more people he can reach through his content, the more people he can help with his financial planning solutions. So you must become a prodigious creator of high quality content that your target customer cares about and wants to consume. The last pillar that I'm going to talk about is speaking. And I'll share this very simple concept. When you write a book, you are able to get into groups to speak that you otherwise would never be permitted to enter into. In other words, when you write the book on the topic, everybody wants you to come and speak to their group about your new book. Interestingly, Andy Bailey, the CEO of Petra Coach, he said, Adam, I want you to do a webinar for my members talking about your book, Authority Marketing. Writing a book opens up many doors for speaking, both in person and virtual. So why does authority matter? Well, number one, the more authority you have, the more brand and omnipresence you have, the easier it is to attract people to your business. Some might call that lead generation. The more authority you have, the quicker you build trust with your prospects, the easier it is to convert those leads into customers or clients of your business. And the more authority you have, the more likely someone is to refer you, talk about you, or brag about you to their friends, colleagues, and family, which makes you more referable and helps you keep customers in your business longer. One of my favorite books, written some 10 years ago, No BS Trust-Based Marketing. My co-author, Dan Kennedy, penned this very timely book. And in the book, the authors came to a salient conclusion. The conclusion was that at no time in recorded history had trust levels been so low. Now, how many of you, when you leave your car in a parking lot, lock the doors? Probably all of us. How many of us lock our front door at night when we go to bed? Probably all of us. You see, trust levels are at an all-time low, whether it be with big companies, certainly with government, heavens to goodness, even the Catholic Church and organized religion are struggling. We can't even trust the Boy Scouts of America, unfortunately. And trust levels within our own neighbors and social spheres are eroding. So if you have no trust, it's very difficult to make a sale. In fact, I would encourage you to write down, no trust equals no sale. If you want to increase your sales for your business, you need to increase the trust that prospects and customers have with you and your brand. And hands down, authority is one of the fastest ways to build trust. Peter Strauss, the CEO of Strauss Global, said, "It goes without saying that publishing a book has been a game changer for us. We experienced immediate engagement and have seen an uptick not only in the number of clients, but in the quality of those clients. On a business level, I've had an 8-time return on my investment in my very first year. I doubled our close ratio and we had a 50% increase in our pipeline. That's results. All of a sudden, I became an authority because I'm the author. We've given out over 3,000 copies of my book in the last 7.5 years, and it's taken my practice tenfold, from approximately 5 million of production per year to nearly 50 million of production per year." Now, all of this begs the question, Adam, if I do this, am I going to become the next J.K. Rowling? Now, for those of you that follow these kinds of things, J.K. Rowling is the first ever self-made billionaire solely through authorship. We all dream of kicking back our feet and cashing those royalty checks. However, I have bad news for all of you. That's probably not going to happen. You see, the reason to pursue authority, the reason to pursue authorship has nothing to do with royalty checks and getting rich. Certainly my hope for all of you. But the reality is that pursuing an authority media path is all about impact, growing your thought leadership to have more impact, more sway, and for people to trust you more. If you want to build authority that grows your business, there are 3 things you must do before you get started. First, you need what we call an authority blueprint. An authority blueprint is very simple. Begin with the end in mind. If you are going to pursue an authority journey, what outcomes do you desire, not only personally, but for your business? Let's begin with the end in mind. Let's define what those outcomes are, and then let's build a plan that specifically addresses and delivers. Most are going to decide that writing and publishing a book is an integral part of their authority blueprint. And if that is the case for you, the second thing you'll need is what we call a master book plan. The master book plan, which is a 15 to 20 page detailed document outlining your book, answers the question of what book needs to be written to achieve those desired outcomes. And then the third piece is understanding the process of authority, of writing, of publishing, and marketing to determine what's best for you. Meaning, do you work with a company like Forbes Books that assists, aids, and partners with you on this journey? Do you do it all yourself? Or do you write a manuscript and hire a literary agent who will attempt to sell your manuscript to a traditional publisher in New York City? Understanding these things is absolutely paramount. Now, I said at the beginning of the webinar that everyone would get a free copy of my book, and indeed that is the case. So a few resources that might help you on your journey, and then we're going to open it up for questions. The first is anybody that would like a free copy of my book. On the next slide, you'll have my email address. Send me an email with your mailing address. I will get a copy placed in the mail to you of this book. The second thing is if you'd like to have a phone call with our team to learn more about the authority process, more about how we help entrepreneurs grow their authority, then you can request a discovery call. And then third, the first step we take with any author is something called an authority blueprint. It's a 4 to 6 week consultation process in which we help you define your desired outcomes and then build a plan to build your authority to get you where you want to go. Email me, awitty@forbesbooks.com. We will get a copy of Authority Marketing in the mail to you. So Leah's going to come back on and join us. And I know that there's a couple messages in the chat. And if you have questions, this is the interactive part of the presentation. You might have detailed questions about writing a book or publishing a book or marketing, selling, and promoting a book. Or you might have specific questions solely about building authority. By all means, bring them on if you have them.
Adam, that was great. Thank you so much for that informative presentation. Guys, just like you said, we have some time available for Q&A, so get those questions going in the chat box or in the Q&A box. I'm actually going to kick us off. I have a question. So in addition to, I know you talked about one of the pillars being content marketing. Even at a CEO business entity level, do you see social media presence playing a major role in authority marketing in today's day?
Great question, Leah. Yes, very much so. So social media is one of the main pillars that authorities have to communicate directly with their audience, whether that be Twitter, whether that be LinkedIn, Facebook, or even now platforms like Instagram or TikTok that have certainly continued to grow in popularity. So look, the first thing is for you as the CEO, you have to make the personal decision of how involved do I want to be in social media. I'll speak for myself and I'll say that I am very involved on LinkedIn, but I am not very involved on the other platforms. Now, our company is very involved on those other platforms, but me as the CEO, there's two things. One is I have a finite amount of time. And so I decided I would rather be much more active on LinkedIn and stay focused on LinkedIn versus being more diluted between all of the platforms. The second thing is for the business that I'm in, my customers are CEOs and entrepreneurs. And I know more than anything, they are likely to be on LinkedIn more than any other social platform. So you have to fish where your fish are. And so for me, that's why I fish and spend the most time in LinkedIn. But yes, social media should be a part of your content marketing strategy. And it's a very, very good way. And there's a lot of low-hanging fruit on how you can engage with your audience using these various social platforms.
Great, thank you for that. All right, guys, do we have any other questions for Adam? Give you guys a minute here. And everyone make sure to send your mailing address into Adam's email, and he'll graciously send you a copy of his new book. We're super excited about that. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping things up. Thank you guys so much for attending. You'll receive a recap in the next 24 hours that will include all of the mentioned resources, as well as a link to rewatch or to share this webinar. Be sure to check out petracoach.com and click on our events tab to see all of the other upcoming workshops and webinars. You can also view previous ones. As always, if you have any further questions or we can provide any additional help for your organization, please reach out to info@petracoach.com. And Adam, thank you so much for being with us today. We really enjoyed having you.
Thank you.
Have a great day, guys.